I was a staunch scientific thinking guy. The idea of what I considered as a human form of God didn't really sink in. It didn't become an experience. Yes, I know Jesus was there, and there were human forms and there was divinity. So something needed to change to make that experience happen. So there are 3 bus stops I mentioned. The first one is faith. The second one is surrender. And the third one is prayers. And let me go over these 3 with experiences and events and sort of hint about how this leads to understanding unity. Okay, because the first question we have, keep that question in mind. Everything that I have been taught since birth and immediately after birth tells me you and I are different. He tells me you and I are the same. Honestly, it's my ignorance. I know many of you may not be in this quagmire, in this dilemma, but I am. And I have struggled with it for years. So let me tell you about faith. There was a time when Swami, and so this is an event, but it really helped me understand faith. But Swami called our family in for an interview. My kids were really small, so they were sitting on the ladies' side, and Swami called us. So I stood up and waved, so they understood that means they have to come. But out of respect for Swami and for the ashram and for the Kulwant hall, they got up very slowly, and Mom was walking them, and it was a very slow process. And Swami came to me again, and he said, to go into the interview room. And I said, Swami, please, they're coming. I really wanted them to be in the interview. I said, Swami, please, they're coming. And obviously he was not happy with it. Then he looked at me again and said, go. I said, Swami, please. And they're still not here. And then once again, the 3rd time he asked me, go. And I said, Swami, please let them come. And he turned, walked into the interview room, shut the door, and he was gone for 45 minutes. And I just sat there in front of the door. My family was sitting below that window. We didn't have the slope in those days. And I didn't know what to do. And then after about 40 or 45 minutes, the door opened and Swami came out. He came straight to me and he said, I asked you to choose between God and family, and you chose family. And I just started bawling. I cried. And then he said, it's okay. Go inside now. So then I went with my family inside, crying still. So we sat there, no one else was there, we were there. And among the various things that happened there, he asked one question to my son. How old are you? So he was 7 at that time, so he said, 7. So he was happy, he thought, he could answer. He said 7. So Swami looked at him, bent down and said, how do you know? And he thought about it, but didn't have an answer. And then he looked around to each of us. We really didn't have it. He looked at me. I kept trying to avoid looking at him, just like we do in school, so that the question doesn't come to me, but it did come, and I didn't have an answer. So then he looked at me at that time, and he said, because his mother told him so, or there is a certificate. First comes faith. These were his words. I didn't really understand the impact of those words, so at that point it was just an event. And I thought, this is nice, he got me, and whatever, right? So it's an event. And I could even go tell people, first comes faith. But what does that mean? In my mind, the reluctance to allow the thought of unity in me, to allow that thought to come, is the fact that my senses tell me you are different. Right? Now here's Swami telling me, first comes faith. Then he asked me, what is science? And he has said this before to many people. And my usual answer to whatever he asks is, I don't know. Because there's just no, I don't think we can ever claim to know anything. And he has said this to others as well, science is for the senses. Then he said something very important. And I mentioned this in Mission Viejo. Science starts with experience, then knowledge, then faith. God starts with faith, then experience. Then knowledge and then experience. So it's opposite. We can't use the scientific glasses to understand spirituality. They're different animals. And he guides people differently based on how they think. And for me, that was profound. And the measures I use to decide whether there is unity or not, I see you as different than me because you are sitting there, I'm standing here, I touch myself, you don't feel that touch, and my voice is different from yours, it's unique, and so on and so forth. All the senses doesn't matter, it's irrelevant because that is science. Spirituality, God, starts with faith. First comes faith. So we have to accept that we are one. Okay, so I accept we are one. What does that mean? What does accepting that we are one mean? What does it mean to say, you and I are one? That is exactly what I asked Swami on another occasion. What does it mean to say, Swami, you and I are one? I really wanted to know that. The golden rule, right? Do unto others as you do unto yourself. So I can't harm you. I know I cannot feel if, what's his name, Merchant of Venice. I'm sort of misquoting Shakespeare, but, if I cut you, do you not bleed? Yes, but I don't bleed, right? So I don't feel I'm able to do surgeries. Why? Because I don't feel the pain. But yet we are one. So that unity is to be accepted on faith. Let's not try to tear it into shreds and try to interpret it and explain it based on science. And I feel in my own life strongly, even though I'm a scientist, that is a different robe that I wear compared to spirituality. You can't mix these two. So that's number one. But the essence of faith is something that will help us go one step closer to God. And this faith has to be so-called unshaken. Part of that faith is believing that is God. That's what your faith is all about. That's what it is. And if He is God, if He is omnipotent, like the first shloka, the stotram I said, if she is omnipotent, and if she does exist in everything, and I accept that in faith, then what does that faith mean? Well, if I act with that faith, then slowly my life becomes transformed. That is how you convert an event to an experience. At least that is the way I do it. I can't say that's for everyone. But the struggle with how unity happens is best done by accepting it in faith, saying it is different from science. Doesn't matter what I see, feel, touch, hear, but He and I are one. And if He and I are one, and God runs through all of us. Swami has given so many analogies of wire and electricity and bulb and so on. We all know that. But let's start practicing that. And starting to practice that means that you try to experience or feel what the other person is feeling, although you're not with them, although you're not touching them. If they're poor, feel that poverty. If they're sad, feel that sadness. If they're crying, feel that sorrow. How can you help someone who is sorrowful if you don't understand that sorrow? Your words are inane. Your words will say, oh, I understand what you're going through, I'm sorry. That's not enough. That was not enough for me in Calcutta. It was not enough that somebody threw a sandwich at me. Faith has to be an integral part of our lives. Then only, that's the first step, faith comes first, Swami said. That's the first step to understanding and experiencing the divinity or unity. Divinity, unity, same. Okay, that's faith. And Swami does a lot of miracles. So I can tell you little nice stories where Swami shows his omnipresence and omniscience, and sort of, if you have doubts, then he says, you know what, you still stuck with this ridiculous science thing, I'm going to show you some miracles. Don't even try to explain it, just enjoy it. And build a camaraderie, build a bond with Swami. So actually, Dr. Congleton, myself, Brother Rohan, we were in 2010 in the stadium, late in the night. We missed darshan. I don't think we had supper. And, we are sitting there. The gates to the stadium are now closed because it's late in the night, close to about 2 a.m. I forgot, it's about 2 a.m. It's past midnight. And we are there, the three of us, and somebody comes there. A boy comes in, knocks on the door, comes in, and we are building these. It was the international, the village that we were building, so we're building a house and putting posters and so on. And this kid walks in, and the kid says, here is this prasadam from Swami. And they're delicious laddus, and we're hungry, obviously hypoglycemic, and this laddu is the perfect prescription for it. And we look at it, take it, thank the boy, and we continue with our work. And suddenly, Dr. Congleton and Brother Rohan said, hey, wait a minute. How did he get in? The gates are locked. Who is this guy? And we ran out. We ran out and looked hither and thither, and that was it. Never saw him. He comes in to remind us that this is who he is. One who is above the traditional thinking that holds us back. The thinking that says we are not one. The thinking that says, here's the proof you're not one because you are there, I am here. You feel something, I feel this, you don't feel this. That is wrong, he's telling us, he's reminding us. When we inaugurated the GI unit in Puttaparthi at the Super Specialty Hospital, we were again working late in the night, putting up posters, and there was one poster that we had where, there's the human body, the inside of it, and you can see the gut, the large intestine and the small intestine, and they're all there. And again, it's late in the night, so about 1, 2 a.m. Hospital gates are closed, security is standing there, sevadals are there. And we're doing this, we're all tired, and this boy walks in. I don't know where he came from, but anyway, he came in, and he starts looking at the posters, and points to this poster with the gut. And one of the female doctors, he asks her, Madam, how big is this? And we were all tired, so he said, please, let us work. Leave us alone. Then he asked again, Madam, how big is this? And he pointed to the bowel. So among us, we had somebody who was a specialist in that area, and so we asked him. And he said, 30, 31 feet combined. So we said 30, 31 feet to him, and then we started continuing to work. Suddenly the boy was gone. We go look on the corridors, either side, no boy. And you know the hospital corridor, right? It goes, you can see quite a distance. Anyway, but we had work to do, so we finished everything, and next day was the inauguration, and that's another story, how Swami showed up over there. Remarkable story, some other time I'll say, because I still have to cover surrender and prayer. But, so then Swami came, and Dr. Reddy was there, Swami was there, the rest of the group was there, and Swami came poster by poster, yeah, so what is this? And we had assigned people to the stations. So various doctors were there. And he came to that poster. And he looks at this lady doctor and he said, how big is this bowel? So she thought, oh, no problem. I've got this covered because that specialist told me 30, 31 feet. So she said, 30, 31 feet, Swami. And he was so cute. So he sat and he was in his chair. And then he said, wrong. Like this, wrong. He said, 21 feet. And that's it. He lost interest in the rest of the posters and he went off to the inauguration, lighting the lamp anyway. So then the rest of it finished. Look at the monkey mind, okay? So we gather together and we say, let's Google this. We did, and obviously, needless to say, Swami was right. So these are events. But the message in this, or the take from this, is reinforcement of the idea that science is not the way to look at God. That spirituality is the way to look at God. That faith comes first. That is the way to look at God. We have to believe that this is what God is. Once we believe that, then it's easy to accept the world as it is, because it is as it is. You know, we often say, the Lord's Prayer, we say, thy will be done. But, and I'll tell you this other story, but Swami sits and smiles. Thy will be done. Thy will was done. Thy will is being done. And of course, thy will be done. So when we surrender to Swami, that's the second time. When we surrender to Swami, we can't be thinking about the past. You remember that slide we had? We can't be thinking about the future, because that's not surrender. Thy will was done. What happened was him. Thy will be done. Thy will is being done. So we have no role. Science has no role. The world exists as it is. So here I am, more confused now. And I didn't know what that means. And the essence of this is to understand, who are you? The beautiful bhajan they sang, I am Om, I am love. Ask yourself, do you mean it? Ask yourself, do I understand it? Ask yourself, do I practice it? And ask yourself, lastly, do I experience it? If we have, there's going to be periods, that's why we've taken birth, so there are going to be many periods in our life, many events in our life, where the concept of who I am as the Atma or the Spirit will be challenged, where science will enter and rear its ugly head and tell me that is not who you are, this is who you are. And I am not educated in the scriptures, and I'm not, there are many elders here who know a lot more than I do. I'm a simpleton, as I said. The way I think about it is, hey, I know I have a body because I've cut it open. I know I have a brain because I've cut it open. I know I have a mind which is different from these two, and there's a beautiful book by a neurosurgeon, Wilder Penfield, about the mind and the brain, the difference between the two. So scientifically, I know there are 3 parts at least. Maybe there are more. But scientifically, that's what it is. But there is another part. Swami says, spirituality tells me, have faith. Faith comes first. There is Atma. And that Atma is you. And that Atma is the only you. There is none other. And that Atma is the same as the Atma inside Dr. Congleton or Brother Rohan. So, unless we accept this in faith, we can't move forward. And the first step in accepting this in faith is called surrender. So that's what surrender means. It means that you accept the notion that you are the Atma. And it is only the Atma that dictates and does things. This body, this intellect, this mind is nothing but a servant of the Atma. And that is all it is. There is only one engine that I have. I am not a dual drive motor, car, single drive, that Atma. So, I asked this to Swami. Do I have free will? Why I'm saying this is because it will bring us back to this idea that there is mind, intellect, body, and Atma. And the question is, do I have free will? And Swami said, again, this is just my own, it's an experience because it changed me. And he said, the only free will you have is decide if you have free will or not. Very logical, because I like logic. So, when I look at the past and I say, oh my God, I wish I had done this, wrong. Because the mind has to decide who is the master. Is it the Atma or it? Again and again, the mind keeps thinking it is the master. It controls the world. It controls the events of the world. And it says, in the past, if I had done this, or if I had not done this, this would have happened. Here's this alternative stream. And with God's grace, I used to be, there's a field of mathematics called game theory, where all we do is think about how others think. That's the mathematical model of human interaction or interaction among firms or other things. So I'm trained in that. How can I not think that if I had not done this or if I had done this, what would happen? What are the alternate pathways? Oh my God, I'm soaked in this. So now I have to abandon all that. Why? Because of faith. Because he said that it is the only decision I have, the only free will is for me, for my mind to say, do I look towards the Atma or do I look towards the world? The closer I am to the world, obviously the farther I am away from Atma. The closer I am to Atma, the farther away I am from the world. Let the world happen. Because who controls the world? Not me. Not the me. When I say me, it's the mind, body, intellect complex. That doesn't control it. It is the intellect. It is the Atma that controls it. He just sits there quietly. And then he'll do things. Make you even believe that you are the guy who's doing it. That's why you think, oh my God, I wish I had done this. I was mentioning something and Dr. Reddy remarked something very beautiful. Number 98 in the Ashtotram is Om Shri Sai Sakala Samshaya Haraya Namaha. He who destroys any doubts. Sakala Samshaya Haraya Namaha. Well, it's not just that. It is Sakala Samshaya Karaya Namaha. This guy also gives us doubts. So, he gives us doubts and he also removes doubts. So when there is a doubt, what do? Don't get entangled in it and think, oh my God, yeah, no, this is not he is in control. Pray. Just pray and say, Swami, you are all that I know. And my free will is to say, no, you are not it. And this world, I am in control. This mind is in control. This body is in control. And I start plotting and thinking about strategies. Or I just say, let it be. You are the one in control. Because I have to have faith. Faith comes first. And the faith is that God, the Atma, is the only reality, the only doer. And everything else, like the beautiful example of, I think it was shown you, I'm not sure because, I think that was showed you, these mirrors, right? You showed a quote from the book about mirrors. And there are all these mirrors. I don't know, when I was young, I used to watch these kung fu movies, and there was this Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. You enter this room, and there's all these mirrors, and you don't know which one is real until you break the mirrors. The truth doesn't break. The mirrors break. So events come to you, and this is a factory. This body is a factory. Events come from one side, there's a black box. out of this sight should be experienced. If not, you're wasting your life. And that's what Swami said. Why are you wasting your life, precious life, thinking about the past or the future? About which, neither of which you have any control over. Your mind is so, in Tamil there's a word, kevalam, that means so ridiculous. It doesn't want to give up this last vestige of control. That it says, let me pray. Let me pray and control the events around me. Believe that Atma is one, Atma is in control. Sit and enjoy the journey. Sometimes the journey, I just went to Shimla, the journey is rickety transportation, and sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes you have beautiful company. That's the journey that he's putting you through. So there was this student who told me a wonderful story where Swami often asks the boys about who's going to talk. So one guy put his hands up, and Swami said, "What do you want to talk about?" And he said, "Swami, I want to talk about Guru." So Swami said, "Oh, very nice." He always plays around. Very nice. So it's still an event, not an experience, but it'll become an experience soon. So he says, "Yes, Swami, I'm going to talk about Guru." He says, what is a Guru? Now remember, my strategy is always, I don't know, Swami. Right? In fact, the story that Brother Manik said, towards the end of the talk, when I was in Kulwant Hall, I said, everything that this body has, everything that I have, everything that I am, I drop it at your feet so that I can have a little glimpse of everything that you are. And so then when he materialized, he asked me, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No, Swami." And he said, "I am Shiva." And then he showed this thing which was in a chain and a lingam, and then he said, "Do you know what this is?" And I said, "No, Swami." And then he said, "This is a Shiva lingam," and then he tied it with a hook around my neck, a hook that I've never taken out. It's like my Mangalsutra. I put my head on his lap, and he was patting the head, then he went and put the hook. Never say that you know something. So this boy said, "Swami, Guru means Gu is for Gunatitaya, Ru is for Rupa Varjita. You have no attributes and no form. That is Guru." So he got an answer, right? Smart guy. And Swami said, "Who's your Guru?" He said, "You, Swami." Then he said, "But I have a form and I have attributes. How can I be your Guru?" Out. That was the end of this kid. And then Swami said, "What do you want to talk about?" He said, "Surrender." So Swami said, "What is surrender?" No, first usual, right? Swami said, very nice, good boy." And he said, "What is surrender?" He said, "Swami, surrender means all that I have, I put at your lotus feet." So then Swami said, "What do you have?" "Everything is from me, and you're giving it back to me." So then the kid said, "Oh, Swami, I'm sorry." And Swami then said, surrender means the unshakable faith. Okay, in Tamil it's Drida Nambika, unshakable faith, firm faith, that no matter what happens to this body, it is for your own good. That God does it for your own good. You've got to keep reminding yourself of that. There'll be bloodshed around you, there'll be destruction, there'll be lawsuits, there'll be IRS, there'll be real IRS and the fake IRS from Bombay, who phone you. All of this will be there, but you have to stand up and say, whatever is happening is for my own good. God, you are the only doer. Atma is the only doer. Atma is the only doer. That's the purpose, that's the idea behind Soham. Soham, which Swami says is an essential part of not just pranayama. You don't sit for 15 minutes and do Soham, but it should be your constant awareness of this Atma by saying you and I are one, Atma. You are it. And so that is surrender. That no matter what happens, you believe that the world is controlled not by you, it is by Him, by the Atma. That it is for your own good. It is for you to understand the beauty of this. How can you understand the beauty of something if you overshadow it? You know, it's like a beautiful speaker is over here, and I stand in front of that speaker and block. How can you appreciate the beauty of that speaker? And when they try to start speaking, I outshout them. That's what your mind is doing. That's what your body is doing. Let the Atma speak. Be silent. Let the Atma show its glamour and beauty by your silence, by your diminution. Become even smaller than you think you are. What the mind thinks needs to be crushed. It's brutal, but that's the way you appreciate the beauty of the Atma behind you. Let it shine. Let it grow. Let it spread. Let that love, which is the essence of I am love, I am Om, that beautiful bhajan. If you want to experience that, you got to get out of the way. The mind has to move out of the way. The body has to move out of the way. Let Him shine. That is surrender. If we sit instead and think, oh, woe is me, why did this happen? Oh, Swami, I'm so devoted to you, I do this, I do that, I go to pilgrimages, I sing bhajan, yet why does this happen to me? That's not surrender. Or to even say, Swami, I come and surrender to you, now do this for me. That's not surrender, that's barter. Right? He's not going to do barter with you. You took birth to understand who He is, to understand His glory, His exuberance, His beauty. That's what you want to see. That's all I asked Him. A glimpse of who you are. When faith is there, then you can set aside a lot of things. You can't say that I have faith, I surrender to you, Swami, now make my life good. No, that's not an issue. You can't, as I say, it's not a question of bargaining, it's a question of how you think. That this is my personal view. This is not, please, Sairam, please don't misunderstand that you should not pray for this and that. We'll come to prayer later on. But in my own view, in my own life, I don't do that. I just give to Swami. Give to that Atma so that it can shine more and more and more and more until your mind is the one that is subdued by the Atma. Not the other way about. Don't let the Atma be subdued by the mind. The Atma will sit there and say, okay, I'll be subdued. But I'm the guy who's the puppet. You're the puppet and I'll keep moving the strings. You'll think you're doing it? Okay, I'll keep quiet. And that was the story of Gajendra, right? Gajendra, and even Draupadi, the same thing. So Gajendra is this elephant that went into a lake atop a mountain to drink some water, went into the lake, and the lake, there was a crocodile that came and grabbed his feet. And, they say, I haven't really tested it out, but crocodiles are stronger in water than in land. So this crocodile is very strong. It grabbed the elephant's foot. Wouldn't let go. The elephant is trying, and the crocodile wouldn't let go. And legend has it that this battle went on for 1,000 years or so. And the elephant thinks, look, I'm strong. I should be able to deal with this. And then I've got 4 legs. He's got tiny little legs. The crocodile is not, how can he do this to me? No, it doesn't work. The crocodile does not let go of the elephant's feet. And finally the elephant says, oh Lord, please help me. And that's when Lord Vishnu comes and beheads the crocodile. So the point of surrender shouldn't be your last go-to thing. The point of surrender should not even be the first go-to thing. The point of surrender should be it. You should live in surrender. You should live in a state of surrender. It's not that an event happens and you say, oh, I surrender to you. Help me, save me. I would like you to be in a state of surrender all the time, with the understanding that everything that happens is something that is ordained by your Atma And that is a God. That's what is happening. Now, let your body, let your intellect, let your mind enjoy this front row seat of your life. Sit there and say, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, he's crying. Oh, no, that's so sad. Ah, he's happy. Enjoy the show of your body, of your mind, and of your intellect, until the mind becomes so small that the Atma is the predominant force in you. That is the purpose of your birth. So that is surrender. Then we go to prayer. We're coming towards unity, right? So you're now closer to understanding, or at least you know what you have to do to experience this unity. First is faith, and the second is surrender. And surrender means this way of thinking. It's a state. It's all the time there. Surrender is all the time. It's not like suddenly you surrender one, not the other. Then you go back to living your life. No, always. So hum. You breathe. How many times? Swami says 21,600 times a day. You breathe. With every breath, you're saying so and then hum, right? So if you're doing that, constantly aware, that's the CIA, right? That's the constant integrated awareness of who you are. If by mistake I say, there we go. I. Every time I use the word I do think about who that I is. It's okay for me to use I or me as the body, the mind, as long as I'm aware that's what I'm referring to. And that there is a reality in me. The Atma. That is the real me. That is the real I. But this ridiculous grammar and language, all of these are ways by which we are chained down to this world of duality. We have to change our language. But if we do that, people will think we are crazy. I can't go to someone and say, my soul thinks you have a brain tumor. Your body has a brain tumor. That doesn't make sense. So we have to be living in a state where we understand what is it that we are saying. What words are we using? Who does the word refer to? That's what is important. Because our language doesn't separate these two I's. It's the same I. And that's why we are stuck in this duality. Okay. The last one is prayer. So what do we pray now? So we know what faith is. Dhrida Nambika is surrender. So faith, surrender. Faith comes first. We know what surrender is, good or bad. You remember Swami's letter when he was 14 years old? Who is my devotee? He defines what a devotee is, right? In good times or bad times, equanimity. That's the surrender, state of surrender. That's his devotee. So in everything that you do, all the seva that you do, the services, the work that you do in your profession, your interactions at home, always keep this in mind. Who are you? And whatever happens, happens. It is under the dictates of God. Thy will was done. Thy will is being done. And thy will be done. Okay, so now, what about prayer? What do I pray? So given all this, if we believe in this paradigm is something we have faith in because God said that, because Swami said that. And given that he has said that, and we are singing bhajans about it, I am love, I am Om, I am God, we are one, we are writing about it, let us begin to experience that. And the first step in that is to, again, watch your mind and rein it in. So if your mind says, pray for this or pray for that, you can do it. Again, please don't misunderstand me. You should lead your life the way you would like and pray. And there are people who pray, and there's this beautiful story Dr. Ray told me about Mother Teresa, where she had some little difficulty with someone, and prior to that there was a lady from the UK who came to her, and Mother said, it's fine, I don't need your help. You go back, you serve wherever you are from. And then this lady said, but I really want to help you, Mother. And she said, one day I will call you. And so Mother is there, and then after many years, this trouble starts for her. And she phones this lady in the UK. And, the lady picks up the phone, and she says, this is Mother Teresa. And she says, oh, my God, Mother, why are you calling? What can I do? Just tell me what I can do for you. And she says, pray. Pray with all your heart. Pray for me. and for what is happening in her organization. So prayer does help. I'm not saying no, but in our my paradigm is different. Mine is very simple, and it's very important for me to never get distracted, never get taken away from this Advaita view of my life. The Advaita view of my life is there is only one. There is this Atma. There is only one. There is no two. And whatever I do, whatever I say, whatever I think must jive with that. If it doesn't, I'm betraying myself. That's the way I think. But there's a whole Dvaita, this whole, way of thinking about God, which is not this. And so my way is this. So when I say, what can I pray? I just pray, Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Because this guy controls everything. This Atma guy controls everything. I'm not a psycho, okay? I'm not building some schizophrenic model of someone dictating my life, but that is the truth. That it's not just what our scriptures say, but I have experienced it. That a time comes when all the prayers that you can do may not work because what the Atma wants is different from what you're asking. There's a colleague, a physician, who was applying for a job, and so, I wished her well, and I said, I pray to Swami that you get this job. Because she is the right person for this job, without doubt. If I had any say about it, that's the person. I mean, not because it's a colleague that I know, but that's the right person who will bring about the change. And her reply was, no, don't pray that I should get the job. Pray that the person Swami wants will be the one who gets the job. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. It was beautiful. Beautiful for me. Because we often say this, there was a cartoon recently where, we often go, oh, have a nice day. And then the guy says, I will decide if I want to have a nice day. Who are you to tell me I will decide. So, the Atma is the one who makes decisions in your life. The Atma is the one who creates your life path. The events that come to you care of, or the gift of compliments of Atma. If Mr. Atma or Mrs. Atma or Miss Atma is doing this, enjoy it. Don't keep asking, oh, but I want, somebody gives you a gift. It's like, what do they say, looking a horse in its mouth. Somebody gives you a gift and you say, can you give me something else? Right? Appreciate the gift that you have. Every morning you wake up, you're able to breathe. Every morning you wake up, you're able to see your hands and, you have good sight. You're alive. You never know when you'll go. And when you never know when you'll go, it will be indeed sad if at that time when you're going, you're thinking, oh my God, I wish I had done this. That's what Adi Shankara said, right? This famous song, Bhaja Govinda. No point thinking about it at that time. Because realizing who you are is the purpose of this birth. Realizing your relationship, you means the relationship of this body and mind to the Atma. Because this Atma entered this body and mind and animated it. Without the Atma, what is that? It is a bag of rotting flesh. I'm sorry to say, but that's the truth. If no Atma, no body. It will decompose. No mind either. Right? The moment the Atma enters, the body lives. Right? Blood starts flowing, cells rejuvenate, reproduce. The mind starts thinking, and the first thing the mind does is to deny the Atma. That which gave it the power to think. You're denying it and saying, no, I'm powerful. It's me. Ironical, right? The landlord gives you you're a tenant in his apartment, and you say, you're not the landlord. He's going to call the IRS, he'll call whatever is the cops, yeah. Right? So you can't deny that which you are. Let not your mind do that. Let your mind know its place. That it can't exist without the Atma. Now, once we experience that, it's beautiful. Because when that experience happens, the world changes. The colors of the world change. Everything is beautiful. Everything is pretty. Everything is a gift from God. Enjoy that gift. Enjoy this life that you have while you have it. I've seen people die like this. Not that they did anything wrong. So I don't want to scare you. That's a different political party that does that. So, but it's the truth, right? Remember Yudhisra Story where, they're in the Pandavas are in the. How much time do I have? 10 minutes over or 10 minutes left? 10 minutes left. Left, okay, thanks. So Yudhisra, the Pandavas are all there, they get very thirsty. And so they're walking in the forest. I'm roughly, as I said, I'm ignorant about the scriptures, or if I read it, or even somebody tells it to me, I feel my brain has to be occupied with this conundrum, remembering all the time who I am. So then all these other things I tend to forget, just the essence, just the important things. And so I don't remember the exact story, but the essence of it is, so the 5 guys are there, the Pandavas are there, there's a lake there, they're very thirsty, and they want to go drink water. The first guy goes, and he starts taking the water, and this voice tells him, I am the owner of this lake, and so you have to answer questions that I have, and if you answer them to my satisfaction, then you could drink the water. Otherwise, it's going to be poison. You'll die. And this guy says, forget it, and drinks and dies. And the other 3 guys, a total of 4, died. All of them died. Yudhishthira is left. So he comes in there, and he says, and the voice says, okay, you got to answer these questions. So one of the questions is, and obviously Yudhishthira answers all the questions, and then the voice says, what do you want? He says, I want all of these guys to be alive. So, and which happens. So then one of the questions is, what is the biggest paradox in life? And Yudhishthira says, it is that our lives are finite, yet we live like it's infinite. We live like we will not die. I don't want death to be a sad event or death to be something to be fearful of. Death has to be accepted as an inevitability. And when you accept it as an inevitability, that will change your life. I'm writing a book called Waiting for Death. I've interviewed about 100 of my patients diagnosed with cancer, proven diagnosis of cancer, with a very short lifespan left for them, about how their lives changed when they know that they're going to die soon. And it's remarkable. So how we live, death is the most beautiful invention by God, because it teaches us how we should live our life. There is a sense of urgency. There is a sense that let's not kid around. It's not a game. Let's figure out who we are. Who is God? What is my relationship to God? Let me do that. There's this urgency. We got to do this, man, before you're gone, right? Sorry about the slang, but that's a fact. So when we have these 3 bus stops, the faith and surrender, prayer becomes simpler, at least for me, then we are on our path to understanding the Advaitic philosophy, or the Advaitic principle, the principle of oneness, the principle of unity. And that unity is verily divinity. That is Swami. Jai Sai Ram.